Ferrari GTC4 Lusso T, the car with the catchiest name in the current Ferrari lineup, not. If you're new to the channel, welcome, my name is Sam. If you're a returning subscriber, make sure you've got notifications turned on for this channel so you don't miss any more videos like this one. To recap, Ferrari have very kindly and quite amazingly lent me this car for 10 days to use as I see fit. So, I drove it from London to Geneva for the International Motor Show, and you joined me a couple of days later in the beautiful French countryside. I think I've done around 1,500 miles or so on this trip, so I feel like I understand this car well enough to sit down and talk you through the reasons why I think anyone would look to buy a Ferrari GTC4 Lusso T. Let's get the facts and stats of this car out of the way first, because we are in the V8 Lusso. The GTC4 Lusso was originally launched with a V12 in it as a direct replacement for the outgoing Ferrari FF. However, they have now launched this V8 version, which uses the same engine in the old California T and the new Portofino. However, it has been massively redeveloped because in this car, we are getting 610 horsepower and 760 Newton meters of torque. It is a complete powerhouse. It does 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds, which is just 0.1 seconds slower than the big V12. It will do just shy of 200 miles an hour. The quoted top speed of this car is 199. The most important fact and stat about this car, though, is it is rear-wheel drive. The big V12 is famously all-wheel drive, but as you've just seen, this thing is nothing like that car. They have absolutely redefined the Lusso by getting rid of the all-wheel drive system. It is 50% more economical, theoretically, and I want to come back to that because when you find out how much it costs to fill this thing up, I think we're all going to be genuinely terrified of how much the V12 must cost to run. It is also £30,000 cheaper from starting price. This particular car is £255,000. It's got £50,000 worth of options, so the Lusso T starts at 200 grand. And to me, that is not cheap. I want to show you the interior of this car, because whilst we've just been talking about performance, I think if you're spending £200,000 on a Ferrari, you want to be in a nice environment, don't you? Now, this particular car has been spec'd very highly. It's got £55,000 worth of options on it. And if you want to know exactly what those options are, go back and watch my collection video, because I literally run down every single option that this car has. But I just kind of want to show you what it's like to be in a Ferrari like this. So, driving position. Very nice. You've got a very long bonnet, but you get great visibility and it feels kind of sporty. You're sat nice and low. You have this new age Ferrari steering wheel, which got the sort of flat bottom. Quite complicated in terms of indicators, lights and windscreen wipers. It's all operated via the steering wheel. Takes a little bit getting used to. Indicators are like this. Lights you kind of flick and pull and push. And windscreen wipers, you've also got a sort of a swivel there for various windscreen settings. Apart from the massive gear shifter paddles behind the steering wheel, you've also got some tiny swivelly toggles kind of just behind, or just where your fingers rest. They operate the two screens either side of the rev counter. So to demonstrate that, I will turn on the ignition. Now, word of warning, this car does beep a lot. Those are the seat belts. Because this car is so long, it would take you about 3 hours and you'd probably sprain a muscle reaching back for the seat belts, so luckily they get brought forward to you. As you can see, things have now been brought to life, and yes, two screens either side of the rev counter. The one on the left, there's the beeping. The one on the left does our speed. What else does it show us? Speed, music, our navigation, and a telephone. On the right is a lot more to do with the actual car. So we can go into our status settings. If we go back, we get our various trip information. That tells us about maximum speed, average speed. We then move on to the big main screen. So I might be wrong, but I feel like this new big wide screen was brought in for the original Lusso and is now being rolled out in other Ferraris, but it's lovely. You hit the home button and you're brought up with a various range of options: radio, media, navigation, phone, comfort, and then further settings. Slightly frustratingly, to operate the heated seats in this car, you've got to go through quite a few sort of touchy things. So seats, and then select which seat, and then decide if you want it on or off. That's a bore, because when you're driving, you're kind of fiddling around with the screen. And I know almost all manufacturers now are switching to touchscreen technology, but I don't like it. I prefer to touch things. It's easier to operate when driving. Now, speaking about driving or not driving, something this car has, which is very, very cool, is the passenger display. Now, I should be sitting in the passenger seat to operate this, but can't be bothered moving. What's cool about this is not only does it offer you the performance setting, which I'm sure you've all seen, because I've had these in place for a while now, but it's got quite a lot of usability. Now, let's say I went into the navigation, set up to take me to London from here. I could go on my merry way, and if I had a passenger who suddenly got hungry, they could go into the navigation settings on their screen and search for a McDonald's or a Starbucks by simply going search point of interest, around me, and then you can switch across to food stores. You've got restaurants, cafes, all these different things, which means that they don't have to interfere with the main screen. I don't have to do it while I'm driving, but we can update the navigation. So I think that's pretty cool. Loads of space to store things. A great glove box here with USB plugs for Apple CarPlay and charging. You've got drinks holders in there. There's like a little cubby hole to put your Ferrari key. This is the gear selector bridge, I suppose you'd call it. Launch control, auto or manual gears, reverse. This is your air conditioning controls. A really nice big glove box. Got this lovely panoramic roof that I keep banging on about, and that's probably everything that I can show you or talk about. That's an air vent there, more air vents here. It's just a very nice place to be. I can't work out whether I am madly in love with this car or whether I just think it's really good. It's been the perfect companion for this trip. I left London at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, got to Geneva at 4:30 a.m, stepped out of this car with basically a smile on my face because it did not put a foot wrong. Even when I was driving over some really snowy mountains, when you'd think the rear wheel drive would be terrifying, it was great. And it's so comfy, and it's still a Ferrari. And when you're getting out to fill it up and paying the horrific fuel bill, which tends to be around 130 euros, so about 130 pounds, per tank, you still walk to and from the car looking at it going, it's a freaking Ferrari. I used a valet when I was in Geneva at one of the hotels, and walking out there was a Koenigsegg, and I was like, wow, Koenigsegg. And the guy was like, you got a Ferrari, dude? I'm like, yeah, I got the keys to a Ferrari. I do actually have a Ferrari, don't I? I keep forgetting that. But it doesn't lose the prancing horse essence, but it's redefined what a Ferrari can be, because not only is it super comfortable and great at cruising, it's got back seats, proper legitimate back seats. Over the last few days, I've regularly had people back there, fully grown adults back there, and they've been very comfortable. I've been jealous because I think the view back there is almost better than in the driver's seat because you've got this amazing panoramic roof. And now out here on a road like this today, it's so much fun. I am nowhere near skilled enough to be dancing this thing around. I'll probably put it into one of these trees soon, but I've tried. I've turned traction off and I've been trying to slide it around a bit, and it's just exhilarating. And whilst, don't get me wrong, I think the V12 would be another step on, you wouldn't be able to do that, would you? You wouldn't be able to slide it around on a country or mountain road, and I think that's such an important part of a Ferrari. Would you call this a supercar? That's the question. Arguably, it's got supercar performance, it's got a supercar freaking price tag, but it still feels like a sort of GT utility car, I guess. I'm going to spin it around because I got stuck behind a very slow moving lorry, and that allows me to talk about the fact that this car is huge. It is absolutely huge. So as good as it is at doing most tasks, in-town maneuverability, and in fact maneuverability full stop, not great, really not great. Had traction on there, hence why I'm still going in a straight line. But yeah, the bonnet, the whole car is so wide, but the bonnet goes on for miles. Whilst you do have good visibility, it's just so hard to get around any narrow spaces. And that's what I find amazing, because for me, the majority of Lussos I see are cruising around in town, and especially during winter. In London, they seem to just pop up everywhere, FFs and Lussos. And now I've had the experience of driving one in kind of every condition. I'm like, why the hell are you using one in town? It must just be terrifying, especially given the price tag, because even if you are getting a Lusso T, you're still paying £200,000 plus. It's not like, oh, you got a cheap car there, who cares, you can just slum it. If you're getting the V12, I mean, I've seen V12s up at like £330,000 spec-wise. It's just mad. But strangely, out on these twisty roads, it does kind of shrink around you. When you get going, it does kind of shrink around you. It's an amazing car. I mean, Ferrari's engineering has just gone on another step and another level. And I do think it's a wise move adding the V8T to the lineup, because I'm sure they're targeting specific markets with this with regards to emissions. But they were very clever to change it up and remove the all-wheel drive system, because otherwise they would have just been like all these other manufacturers who are putting in big V12s and then going, oh, actually we've got to offer a V8 as well. But instead, Ferrari have created a different car. And I just have to, I mean, I'm always going to applaud them, aren't I? But I really have to applaud them for that. So, why would you buy the Lusso T? I think if you're looking for a slightly more exhilarating driving experience, but the same levels of luxury and usability as the big V12. Don't get me wrong, I think there's no escaping the fact that the V12 will sound better and probably feel faster. I know that it's only incrementally quicker, but I think it will feel faster. And the all-wheel drive system will make it even more usable than the T. But I think this is a great, great driver's car. It's extremely expensive, and I think it's in its own niche. I'm one of the competitors to a Lusso, because if you look at anything else, Panamera Sport Turismo, AMG 4-door GT, boo-boo, blah, 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 they're all 4 doors. This is a 2-door, and it's a Ferrari. It just has that essence of being quite mad and supercarish, very exotic. So I think you would buy it if you're very rich. If you're very rich, but you want a Ferrari to drive and use every day. Basically, if you're Shmi 150, because he had an FF, didn't he? So I think logically, this would be his next car. But would he get the T instead of the V12? I don't know. It would be a hard one. If I had the money, it would be a hard one. I'm going to really struggle to give this car back to Ferrari, but I have to say a huge thanks to them for letting me use it for 10 days in Europe. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Give it a thumbs up if you have, and make sure you're staying subscribed for all the videos still to come.